Well, hello there, traders and friends right around the world. It is James again here with you on behalf of Pivot Point Trading, bringing you this updated Wednesday afternoon market recap. Obviously, today, going through the Dow Jones and the S&P, we did see some form of a continued pullback. The Dow Jones closed down 68 points. The S&P 500 closed down just over 5. And the Nasdaq again sold off 36.5. But what is interesting to note is that although the Dow Jones and the S&P is continuing to sell off at this resistance level, I can very easily make the bullish argument that the Nasdaq has seen a legitimate breakout and it has come back down. And right now we are retesting this old resistance level as new support. Obviously today on the Nasdaq, we gapped down quite significantly on the back of the Microsoft and Apple earnings. However, immediately this dip was bought. You can see the actual intraday movement. The open of today's candle, here's the high, the low, and the close. In the top left-hand corner of my screen, we have an open value of 5,146, and we closed at 5,171. So we almost saw, give or take, about a 30-point intraday move to the upside after the open. This is significantly bullish. It's not the biggest or the most important bullish signal which we can see. However, it's just interesting to note because once again, it is happening at this macro pivot point, an old resistance level which may now act as new support. However, on the contrary to that, it really looks as though in the way of an actual chart pattern type of setup that we're seeing some form of a rounding top type of candlestick pattern and a chart pattern. And also on top of that, we may have some form of an island reversal candlestick pattern as well. So, I mean, very mixed emotions, mixed sentiments across all three of the markets right now. Again, it's best to really be watching this market as a spectator on the sidelines, not really participating unless you can cherry pick some individual stocks like we did yesterday with that IBM update. You can see right here, as per that YouTube update yesterday, and on the back of that earnings report, IBM had a really good re-entry at 161.81. At the moment, we closed down here about 160.35. This is what I mean by cherry picking the best types of trade setups, ones which agree with, I guess, continuations after earnings announcements. That's the best as we transition throughout this most recent earnings period. Outside of that, obviously, Apple today did actually open down around that 122 area. So as I recorded that video yesterday, Apple was actually trending down around that 122 area. It held that level overnight. And as you can see, even on the back of that bearish report, or what was initially some form of a capitulation in the price of Apple, it was immediately bought during the day on Wednesday. So, I mean, it sort of gave back a lot of the losses during the day or the intraday movement. Again, you can see the open was 121.99, so right smack bang on that 122 area. And we actually closed at 125.22. Now, this candlestick isn't legitimately a buy signal whatsoever. We are at a support level. Yes, we have come down to this level about 5 times. This may be the 5th time. Yes, it is right here, but it's not enough information whatsoever to be getting behind any bullish trades on Apple. The best trade right now will be the breakdown below today's candle on Wednesday. I personally will not take that trade. I'm personally waiting for either 117.35 continuation trade down to 106, or to see this level come back down, hold, and then trade the next cycle back up to resistance if it wants to move back and up to 132. At the moment, the net movement and the net momentum on this stock is down, and because of that, I will not be taking any bullish trades on Apple above the break of today's type of candle. Outside of that, I think it was only Boeing Airlines in our top 12 list which actually reported earnings today. Again, an original gap up, but this particular stock was sold, so it was sort of the opposite type of candle to that of Apple. It didn't leave us with a gap. So, I mean, if we go back and have a look at Apple, we have a nice big gap here. Generally, we trade in the direction of the gap. And as you can see, that worked out really well with the IBM trade. You get the gap, and then you get the gap and go momentum continuation. But with Boeing Airlines, we saw the gap up. And instead of continuing to the upside up to about 153.82, we actually sold off intraday again. We saw the open at 148.90 and the close was at 146.50, give or take. So, I mean, it sold off about $1.50 intraday. Some good volume behind the net movement or behind the actual move itself. But, I mean, it didn't really move all that far. It closed up about $1.47 based on where it left off on Tuesday. So, right now, it's very easy. I can bring up this bullish trigger, and I actually like this trade a lot because of the actual intraday movement today. 149.72 is a great continuation entry. I'm not sure if it will actually happen, but if it does, it will be a legitimate breakout based on today's earnings candle, which would be really great. But I've been saying this for quite some time, and it really comes down to this red rectangular box where every time we've rallied back up into it, it's acted as resistance. I really don't see this changing whatsoever. I do expect Boeing Airlines to actually roll over But right now, given what the market is and how the market's poised, with the Nasdaq again potentially seeing some form of a bounce at this location, whereas the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 has given us no real indication that it wants to sort of follow the same type of direction as the Nasdaq. And with these mixed sort of earnings reports, it's quite hard right now to sort of give a legitimate entry on Boeing Airlines below this swing low. Because of that, I'm going to sit tight. I'm going to leave it at 138.34. If instead we get the next 2 days, Thursday and Friday, of a continued sideways price action on Boeing Airlines, then I will consider bringing this up and giving it a little bi-directional trade at this pivot point right here, which works out really, really nicely. But right now, again, you really don't want to be forcing trades which don't have the highest probability of success. You'd rather just simply stay in cash until we get that definitive move on the overall markets, which will, again, direct to us which direction we want to be trading in a lot of these individual trades. Outside of that, on my list, I've got two very important stocks reporting earnings tomorrow. We've got Amazon due out Thursday, and also Caterpillar. So these two will be on my radar, and I will bring you an afternoon recap on these two stocks. We spoke about over the weekend in Pro how we were going to see the retest of this pivot point, and if we didn't have earnings, this would be the absolute best time to be selling short Caterpillar into the retest of this area, just shy of $85. Well, you can see how it's worked out. The problem is, though, was that this week we understood that earnings was set to be released. So we actually missed this trade, not because it wasn't a legitimate setup, just because we would have had to have exited as at the close on Wednesday. So as at the close today, and it would have just been a problem if we didn't see the commitment and the direction flow through as quickly as what it has this current week. So you can see the formation in Caterpillar working very, very nicely. I'm not sure which way this is going to go. I've had this 78 target on Caterpillar for quite some time. Even when we were trading up here at $88, we saw that first wave come down to 85. We saw the double bounce or the double top right here failure. Nice little trade down to 82, which we just saw. And again, the retest, it looks as though we're going to cycle. But with that earnings report tomorrow, I'm not sure which direction Caterpillar will move. I will say one thing, however, is that if we get a legitimate close below about $75, $74 a share, you can expect capitulation in the share price of Caterpillar, which will bring a lot of profit to people who do enter into put contracts. So keep you updated, though. I think that's all I wanted to talk about as at this close on Wednesday. If you have any questions, email me. I've been on the phone quite a lot with a fair few students as well, so it's great to be speaking and working with them. But I'd advise you, even if you are not in pro and you haven't seen what I do here or what we do, just email me and say hello and ask any questions which you may have for me. Outside of that, have a great Wednesday evening, everyone right around the world. It's James signing off on behalf of Pivot Point Trading. All the best. Goodbye.